Good morning. Have we any visitors this morning? From where? Kentucky. Whereabouts? Okay. Very good. Thank you. Harrisburg. Gettysburg. Gettysburg, is that what I heard? Gettysburg? Father Bernardo Pistone. He's your pastor. He's my classmate. I'm sorry? Rochester, New York. Okay. Anywhere else? What parish in Rochester? Yes? Philadelphia. Is there still a football team there? No. Okay. Yardley, okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now, I want you to open your books to the readings today. 11:29. Sounds like school. Is that the problem? Okay. There are three readings today, and they're connected. And we're going to start with the gospel first and move backwards, because what Jesus tells the people is something that's very difficult for them to grasp. It's something that moves them out of their comfort zone, and they're unable to grasp what he's trying to say. And what he's saying is, he says, I am the true bread that came down from heaven. And so you have to eat the bread and drink the blood to come to understand the purpose. Now, was he saying, come up here and gnaw on my arm? He wasn't saying that. What he was saying is you have to absorb what it is I'm trying to tell you. You have to absorb what it is that I'm trying to get over to you. That the old ways have to change. That the new ways have to come in place. That God is now amongst us. And for you to be one with God, you must consume God. So you consume Him in word, you consume Him in the sacrament. Okay? So it has nothing to do with flesh and blood as we know it, or in the biological sense. It has to do with the essence of who we are. When we say that we're close to someone, don't we say they're flesh and blood? Don't we say that they're blood brothers? You see, so we use that terminology all the time. And Jesus was using that same to show the closeness of God to us. And so I will become the bread and the wine that you commonly share will become the very essence of God. And that's what he's talking about. Now, some of them couldn't hear that. Some of them said, what are we going to do? We can't, how can we eat your flesh? And that really wasn't the point. The point was the oneness that being one with God brings. Now, how do we get to that point? Well, we have to go back to the first reading. The first reading talks to us about wisdom. Now, if you were walking down the street and some Martian came to you and said, what's the word wisdom mean? What would you say? How many in here have ever used the word wisdom? Huh? Okay, now, Sister said in 4th grade, you never use a word you don't have a definition for. So you guys have to stay after. Okay? What does the word wisdom mean? No. Some part of it, close, warm. Understanding, another piece of it. When someone is wise, what are they? Or what are they doing? Anybody in here wise? Thus the sermon, see? Wisdom is the power to judge rightly. The power to make right judgment and then to follow the most sound or the soundest course of action. So wisdom is two things: the ability to judge and the ability to act. Okay? So wisdom is one of those virtues that is not just out there like, isn't that nice? No, it requires an action. So the wise person sees what is best and then acts accordingly. Now, in our day and age of sound bites, in our day and age of the crazy people that have television shows, and the crazy stuff that passes for news, and the nutty stuff that we're hearing all the time on the radio and on the television, is not wisdom. And it's not wisdom for two reasons. One, it is not good analysis. It's no analysis at all. And two, it doesn't produce right action. Wisdom means that we can reflect, that we gather information, that we understand, we apply experience, we bring all this to an understanding and realize that we might have to move from our comfort zone by what we experience. But we get stuff in our head. And once we get something in our head, Jesus describes it somewhere in the gospel. They are like people who put their hands over their ears. Little children. I don't want to hear it. That doesn't make it less so. And so, to understand, we have to analyze. To understand and to have wisdom, we have to listen. We have to hear what other people are saying. And we take the best and we put it together with our experiences. We put it together with what we know to be true. And we mix it all together and it produces right action. But I think it was Aristotle who said the unreflected life is not worth living. If we do not reflect, if we do not go deeper than the surface, if we do not go deeper than what we feel, because what we feel is not always right. What feels good is not always good. Wisdom tells us that we must go deeper and then act accordingly. Now, in the second reading, St. Paul picks up the theme again, and he says, brothers and sisters, watch carefully how you live, not as foolish persons, but as wise, making the most of the opportunity, because the days are evil. There are people out there in the world who are telling you things that simply are not true. That cable that comes into your house has the capability of bringing wonderful things. But unfortunately, it is dominated by things that simply are not true, dominated by things that simply are not accurate. What brought about the fall of Adam? The snake, right? The snake came to the woman, according to the story of Genesis. That cable is a snake.